Hey guys, it's me again, Nova, the edgy karate guy, your Tekken buddy. In my previous project, I showcased the biggest mistake of Tekken 8. The incapacity to create whiffs, the ineffectiveness of backwards movement, and how this negatively affects Tekken gameplay defense-wise. But the thing is, it doesn't stop there. Tekken 8 has many grave mistakes that need to be addressed. So, the name of this project will be Saving Tekken 8. I'll be making videos to address these issues individually. The issues that are effectively killing Tekken 8 and that originate from a flawed design philosophy. And I'll also be creating a dedicated playlist for it. So, we will tackle them one by one in forensic detail. Where Tekken 8 is mistaken, why it is mistaken, and how can we solve this in order to create a better, more legitimate, more fulfilling Tekken experience for the future. Once again, my good old disclaimer. The intention of this video is 100% constructive in nature. That being said, let's get to work. I hope you enjoy the ride, guys. Let's start by talking about the obnoxious state of power crushes in Tekken 8 and how it is completely unbalanced and intentionally designed to directly favor the mindless aggressor in Tekken 8. It is worth mentioning though that what I'm about to show you guys will make you mental. But please bear with me. We're going for a hell of a ride. Well, for starters, Tekken 8 made power crushes superpowered. In order to do so, they made mathematical and mechanical changes to power crushes in many regards. Power crushes in Tekken 8 were designed in a way where the price it costs for the aggressor, in case it goes wrong, is not nearly compatible with the power it gives the mindless aggressor. The power it gives to the mindless aggressor is completely disproportional in comparison to the price it costs when it doesn't work as intended. The first thing they did to make power crushes superpowered in Tekken 8 was to accelerate their armor activation. It was accelerated from 8 frames to 7 frames, while stance power crushes were accelerated to 6 frames. This change alone already makes the usage of power crush more effective organically, because that will make you able to armor through so much more options than you could previously. But it doesn't stop there. What they did to power crushes is actually disgusting the way I see it. The thing is, when power crushes were introduced in Tekken 7, and I'll let you know they weren't a welcome addition to begin with. They simply were not. Power crushes are and were, right from the beginning, not true. Even though they were an unwelcome addition, still they allowed the defender to come up with big-brained, sophisticated answers to completely dismantle and discourage their usage. Yes, you have your power crush. Yes, it is a viable option, but you have to be very careful in case you're facing a very smart and sophisticated defender. And what do I mean by that? I mean that a smart defender could come up with specific, tailor-made, dedicated checks that had the capacity to recover in time during the power crush damage absorption. So what could happen is the defender could check you with a dedicated check, you would absorb his move, take the damage, and still be able to recover in time to block and punish you for the temerity of going monkey. But it goes beyond that. Who said you could only block it? No, you could also duck it in case it was a high. You could also parry or reverse it in case your character had a reactive tool. Let me give you examples of how you could deal with power crushes in extremely sophisticated ways. As in, highly intellectual plays being heavily rewarded. And what Tekken 8 has done to the very same situations. Let's study this interaction for instance. Jin Brazilian kick into down forward 1. First of all, this interaction would not ever happen in Tekken 7 to begin with, because power crushes activated their armor on 8 frames, not 7 frames. So for Tekken 7, let's make it into +5 instead of +6, just for demonstration purposes. Then we go Tekken 8. As you can see, I down forward 1 check, I recover in time, I parry her on reaction and I launch punish her. She's destroyed for going monkey because I went for a perfect check with the intention to recover in time. Now, let's see what happens in Tekken 8. First, the power crush becomes safe on block. Second, the power crush breaks your parry. Tekken 8 design philosophy is a joke. Watch this travesty. You can find more about it here. I'll put some links in the description.
Joke. You're finished. You're finished. Joke.
But unfortunately, the degeneracy doesn't stop here. Let's keep looking at some more interactions. Then you look me in the eye and tell me, with a straight face, that this game wasn't tailor-made to directly favor the monkey aggressor.
You're finished.
Damn, they made her power crush safe on block. But at least, if I manage to block it, it has to be my turn, right? She will have to concede and take my 50-50. Right? Well, if she can do all this bullshit and her turn never ends, at the very least I get to move, right? Homing mid power crush that also becomes safe on block. Let that sink in. Namco devs are absolute psychopaths. Now, when you do this against your monkey opponent, now you have the leverage to straight up look him in the eye and ask, are you sure you wanna go monkey again? Because that's how it was supposed to be. I mean, before Tekken 8. G-Man. I wonder why you can often see Tekken God and above Alisa players getting caught doing shit like this. G-Man, I wonder why they are that incentivized into doing shit like this. I wonder what could possibly be the reason for that. I mean, it's not like the properties of the move are completely unbalanced and superpowered, right? It's not like it's in desperate need of balancing, right? If you keep giving incentive and disproportional rewards to low IQ behavior, what you'll get is widespread low IQ behavior. Because in statistical terms, you are disproportionately rewarded for not having to think. Let's pick Eddie for example. Eddie does a move that puts him into the handstand stance. I block this move. Once I block this move, I have a dedicated answer to float Eddie out of it. If I do it correctly and immediately, I get a float combo. But if I go for a wrong answer, Eddie will monkey mash his power crush and I'll get wrecked. But if I immediately go for the dedicated answer, there's no monkey power crush that can save him from my dedicated answer, and he gets wrecked for the temerity of going monkey. Now in Tekken 8, everything went to shit. Not only I can't back T1 anymore, and I can barely go down forward 1 because he'll armor through it and his power crush will become safe on block. I took chip damage. And if I try to react to the power crush with a parry, the glass breaking bullshit happens. Like, how can this dude go for the 13 frames down forward 1 string, a mid-mid natural string, and not be punished if you block it? This is insane, bro. Now that I covered regular power crushes and their superpowered nature in Tekken 8, it's time to talk about the stance transition on block into power crush situation. I want to cover at least some of them, so you, the spectator, are able to see the big picture, and how Namco devs hate excellence and the very idea of sensible, intellectual, and earned counterplay. One of the cases that disturbs me the most comes from my own character and what they did to his stance game in Season 2 Tekken 8. I'm talking about Jin ZEN game, traditionally the most advanced, sophisticated, and complex stance game in Tekken history. Jin's stance game was a separate discipline in of itself. It was a completely separate discipline with a gigantic skill ceiling. Something that only the absolute best character specialists have fully mastered. Then it all went to shit in Season 2 Tekken 8, where Jin ZEN, his offensive stance, received an unsophisticated treatment. What I mean by that is, Jin ZEN now gives the Jin player the capacity to be unsophisticated, stupid, and work just like everyone else. It became a stupid stance game situation just like everyone else's. They pretty much homogenized stupidity, and I'm completely against that. I'm so against that, because his stance game was so special and so above everyone else's in terms of complexity and demands that you shouldn't touch something so beautiful, so well designed as it was. You shouldn't give unearned, makeshift solutions to people, to players who do not strive for excellence. You shouldn't do this. I'll explain in detail what is going on, guys. You will understand.
Traditionally, ever since ZEN was introduced in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Jin's ZEN transitions on block were always option selectable by the universal 13 frames down forward 1 check. If any Jin transitioned into ZEN on block, you went for a 13 frames down forward 1 check and you would beat every single option from Jin. In order for Jin to not lose in this interaction and be punished or interrupted with a counter hit, Jin was forced to ZEN cancel in order to become safe on block, or as safe as he could become according to the move he transitioned ZEN from.
What happened is, for some godforsaken reason that we will discuss right away, they accelerated Jin's ZEN 2 his stance Power Crush from 21 frames to 18 frames. This ruined everything, because now you can't down forward 1 as a defensive option select, because your down forward 1 will not be able to recover in time to duck it. So what happens is it became total chaos. You have some options that can beat a collection of options from Jin, but now he has options that can beat your options as well. Let me show you guys what happened and the absolute best you can do about it. What used to be a simple case of, quote-unquote, I do something, you perfectly check it and do not allow me to keep up my offense, now became total chaos. And why did they do it? It's either one of the two. One, because Namco hates the very idea of excellence and defensive counterplay. They don't want the defender being invariably rewarded for doing the right thing. That can apply to so many other examples. But I digress. And hypothesis number 2. This was a complete oversight that would only reveal their sheer incompetence and the living proof this modern Tekken balancing team do not understand their own creations. You see, at the start of Season 2, they decided hidden gauge in power crushes would be no more. Then, after they completely finished butchering every semblance of legacy Jin gameplay in Season 2 by making Jin 214 unsafe on block instead of removing the counter hit knockdown that shouldn't ever exist to begin with because it never existed before Tekken 8, they decided to give Jin even more flashy anime stuff, like this down forward 2-4 and this FF1+2 in heat. They mischaracterized Jin even further to become more anime-like. Then they decided, since Zen 2, the Claw Power Crush, wouldn't be a hit engager anymore because of the universal change on hit engaging power crushes that clearly had to go for obvious reasons, they decided Zen 2 would have combo utility. But you see, guys, there's a very real possibility that the devs simply went like,
Oh, I'm trying this juggle, but this move doesn't connect because it's too slow. So, here's my genius solution. Instead of improving the downward hitbox of this move to hit opponents in the juggle, or just simply giving up on this silly idea, what we'll do is, we will accelerate this move to the point it is able to connect now.
guys, there's a very real possibility they did this without considering, without taking into account the fact that this move is Jin's stance power crush and that it would directly affect and ruin the traditional counterplay to Jin's Zen game. A counterplay that was 100% effective since forever. They brought chaos in something that was absolute order, that was absolute beauty. They completely ruined the beauty of it because they gave to a chimpanzee using Jin the possibility to kill the counterplay by resorting to YOLO and taking risks. Now, if you ask me, guys, I still believe in hypothesis number 2, that this was a stupid oversight and they never even considered the consequences of accelerating this power crush due to the desire to make it work in juggles as a strong tailspin. Now we move on to Lee, and as you guys will see it, they've done a similar thing to him. Lee's 1+2, his homing, mid, safe, counter hit launcher, used to transition into Hitman at -2 on block. So you as a defender had plenty of favorable options to respond to that. For some godforsaken reason, Namco decided to make the homing, safe, counter hit launching mid into +2 on block because screw you, that's why. What happens is the original counterplays are no more, as you can see. Thank God, another form of counterplay still remains. Sidestep right slow parry proves to be effective, very effective, against his forced stance mix-ups on block, making the power crush machine obsolete in this case, as long as you react properly with sidestep right slow parry. Let's see the case of Lars, for example. For some godforsaken reason, Namco decided to make Lars SEN 1+2 the stance tornado extender, a 14 frames mid, into the stance power crush, instead of SEN 4, the homing high roundhouse, as it used to be in Tekken 7. A 14 frames stance power crush. Let that sink in. And what entails is that the old option select is gone for good. You cannot down forward one check to kill all his options anymore. But thank God, in the case of Lars, not all hope is lost. Because if your character happens to have a mid power crush that is faster than 22 frames, thank God you can still option select his stance transitions on block. That is, if your character happens to have it. And let's put things into perspective, because I want you guys to fully understand how low Namco has fallen in terms of design philosophy. Traditional Tekken was so averse to the very idea of forced mix-ups on blocked stance transitions that in PS3 Tekken, that is, Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2, things were even worse for Lars in this situation. What I mean is that, in PS3 Tekken, if your opponent blocked the moves that you transition into SEN silent entry, you were in launch punishable territory. A hop kick would invariably kill every single one of your options. And it was absolutely deserved that it did. You should not, absolutely not be able to force mix-ups on blocked stance transitions. Turns out, in Tekken 7, Sen 4, the high power crush was made with the sole intention of protecting Lars from such a harsh predicament. That is, they were willing to be generous with Lars to the point of specifically protecting you from the harshest outcome possible in Tekken. That is, a launch punish. But back then, they never dared to come up with the silly, degenerate idea of protecting Lars, even from 13 frames down forward 1 checks for God's sake, which is the case of Tekken 8. It would absolutely not protect you from the correct check. If you specifically used the correct defensive check, the attacker would still lose terribly. With this example I'm giving you guys, you can fully grasp that their gameplay design philosophy didn't become degenerate overnight. It was a gradual process that started in Tekken 7, the first degeneration. They were testing the waters for what would be the absolute degeneration that is Tekken 8. Now, characters can force mix-ups from blocked stance transitions. What I need you guys to understand is that this did not happen overnight. It was gradual, and such signs were written in history, but only a select few people were able to see it in detail right from the beginning. And with the same degenerate philosophy in mind, they designed Reina FF2 Raiden into her stance Sentai. This is an abomination. The philosophy behind the conception of this move is anti-Tekken in nature. When Reina goes FF2 and transitions into Sentai, she will force a mix-up on block, and there's nothing you can do about it beyond the act of guessing. But the problem is, she didn't earn this mix-up. This mix-up wasn't earned. This is coming from a 13 frames, range 3 advancing mid. This is not coming from an ultra slow, very sluggish and exposed move that puts you in plus frames. No, this is coming from a 13 frames mid that can also be hit confirmed into Sentai 3 for a total of 36 damage and an engager. All I'm saying is, in traditional Tekken, such a move would never, ever exist. Such a thing can only exist in modern Tekken. But we deal with it the best as we can. These are our options. My verdict is, power crushes in Tekken 8 are super powered, and the solution to Tekken 8 power crushes is 1. Mid power crushes must not, under any circumstance, become safe on block. 2. Power crushes in Tekken 8 must not get enhanced when they absorb a check. They must not get the glass break, anti-parry, anti-reversal property they have. This must be completely deleted. These two properties of making them safe on block and giving them glass breaking, anti-parry, anti-reversal properties make power crushes in Tekken 8 completely unbalanced. It skews the risk-reward ratio. And also, number 3. High power crushes that also happen to be safe on block must be toned down in a sense that either decelerated when they're too fast and the rewards on hit must be toned down. It cannot guarantee devastating follow-ups on hit. I mean, look at this. Not even a mere down forward 1 check can recover in time. It's just too damn effective. The imminent threat of these power crushes heavily restrict your options. If they do it, power crushes in Tekken 8 are fixed, and even though they are not a welcome addition for traditional Tekken standards, doing this will make them more tolerable, less unbalanced, and less obnoxious. And I believe that covers the state of Tekken 8 power crushes, guys. Little by little, step by step, we're breaking down the mistakes of this game and presenting solutions that would unquestionably make Tekken 8 a more balanced and fulfilling experience. If you like my Tekken content, please guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you can, don't forget to share my Tekken content with your Tekken friends. Let them know what's up, what's really going on with this game. I thank you guys for all the kindness and support you give me, and we'll be seeing each other again. God bless.
Haha, irmão, já era. GG's, man. Eu falei. Mano, tu viu isso? Chega aí, tu não vai botar fé.